So good evening, everybody. Before we start the podcast today, it is the 35th anniversary of the Hillsborough incident where 97 people went to a game of football and 96 didn't come back with the 97th loss then later down the line. So on the anniversary today, we want to show our respects to all those people, all the families that are affected from both sides, both Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. And yes, we're just going to take a moment and remember them because no fan deserves not to come home from a game of football. And there we are. We're back again. Good evening. Good evening. It's me, that D-O-double-G, and welcome one and all to the award-winning Absolute Football Podcast. And we're rising up back on the street. I did my time. I took my chances. I went the distance. Now I'm back on my feet. I'm just a man, and my will to survive. So many times it happens too fast. You trade your passion for glory. Don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight just to keep them alive. It's as true today as it was back then. And it's not just me sharing in those sentiments. It is my good friend, Samuel. How are you, good friend, Samuel, this evening?
Good, mate. Fighting to stay alive. That sounds like a Monday. That is definitely a Monday thing. Yeah, we are fighting to the end. I'm well, mate. How are you doing?
Pumped to be here with you this evening, but not just with you. We have a special guest with us, super special. We only do super special guests on this podcast. We don't have anybody less than super duper special. And that is from, I think, is it Forest Focus pod is the correct terminology now. We have Mikey joining with us. How are you this evening, young Mikey?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. What an intro that was, Josh. That was magnificent, mate. I have to say. Spot on. But yeah, I'm great. It's a pleasure to be here, guys.
Nice. We tried to be inspiring, and in the chat we've got Simon. Thank you for coming in and joining with us as always, Simon. And then Spenny fan Chris, who tell us Chelsea are 3 up right now. This is true. They are 3-0 up already. It is a Cole Palmer hat trick. Ice cold Cole Palmer, apparently. Cole Palmer. That's just how he bowls. And Everton losing another game of football. That seems at the moment to be how they roll. So we'll attempt to keep you abreast of that game as it happens, because it's nice to be kept abreast of things, and it's just a fun word to say as well. But we're coming to the business end of the Premier League season now. As this time is business time. It's business. It's business time, and that's right. And so we'll start. Where should we start, Sam? Where do you want to start? Because as ever, we're uber prepared, and there's just so much. There's so much to go at that happened that we weren't expecting. I tell you what, we called it bottle jobs. Let's start with the biggest bottle job I felt of the weekend. Newcastle 4, Tottenham Hotspur 0. Samuel, how did that game make you feel?
Boom, boom, boom. Newcastle at home, isn't it? Newcastle at home. I mean, they're not having, overall, they've had some tricky injuries, tricky period, but that home form's kind of stayed true the whole way through, isn't it? And Tottenham don't like going there because they got a batter in their last season as well. That's twice on the trot. Yeah, it's a funny one from a Tottenham perspective, I think, because they've got this Ange ball, haven't they? And he's sticking by it. There's no plan B, it seems to be. He's sticking by it, which long term, at least they're kind of going with that plan. But Newcastle just picked them off, didn't they? I mean, they were, I think, ruthless. I think Eddie Howe said afterwards in his press conference, absolutely ruthless. And Alexander Isak is something else for me. I mean, they're going to have to do very well, I think, to keep hold of him, because I think they're talking about maybe their FFP issues, whether that's the sale they might have to do. And if it is, I would
FFP.
be.
Is that real?
Exactly. Is it a thing? I'm sure Mikey will have some words about that later. But Alexander Isak, for me, he's up there. He really is up there. He's so clinical and so cool going through. He's just got so much ability. Brilliant for Newcastle. Important win. Struggling with injuries, but that front three, it suits against Tottenham perfectly, because it's, they were sort of direct, counter-attacking. Mickey van der Ven had his ice skates on, didn't he? And was struggling at the back, and they put them away. So Tottenham, every time they get that kind of sight of Champions League, then fall over again. So yeah, that was a big failure.
don't really want it, do they? I mean, 5 shots on target, 4 goals. I mean that is a sort of clinical finishing I wish we had at my club from the start. That would be really nice. We'd be winning games like 24-0 and stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, I like you said, Isaac, who just he was superb. I mean, in the chat as well, we have had we've got look at that. Isn't that lovely? Spenny Fan Chris, welcome, Mike, the podcast this evening, and Jen has joined us as well. She's doing good. Jen's doing good. She's good. Good. Chris said Spurs. Spurs are doing the Spurs. And Sean on the FFP, Sean saying FFP stands for fake finance penalties. That is a very accurate description. But yeah, I mean, Spurs, what happened? Do you think were Newcastle that good? Or, I mean, it didn't look like Spurs really showed up, did they?
I think they just picked them off. I mean, as you say, they got they kept possession. You look at like passes. Tottenham had so much. They just kept the ball, but didn't really kind of create their opportunities. They're not quite. They are missing Richarlison in that starting lineup. It seems all the chances fall to Timo Werner. Which probably not the guy you want.
They were great, weren't they? I bet if I was the ball boy, I'd be fuming. What are you doing?
You'd be all over the shop. And Maddison's not quite the same since he's come back, and he should have been sent off as well, I think. Did you see the Maddison incident with the booking as well? No, it was so Maddison, he pulled someone, it was a bad challenge, pulled someone back in his own half and was lucky not to get a booking for it. It was one of those. 2 seconds later, he gets the same happens to him and he's screaming at the referee for a yellow card. And it's like, well, he has been consistent. We call for consistency, and that was the one time the referee was consistent. And it was a bit like, but 2 seconds ago, you kind of just did the same thing and got away with it. Maybe just keep quiet. And then a horrific tackle in the second half as well. So he was kind of fortunate. But they need to find some form because their upcoming games are hideous. I mean, they've got the North London derby. They're coming into a Chelsea, which, as we're seeing tonight, are starting to play a bit of football. Liverpool, Manchester City coming as well, who are fighting, and they've even got Burnley who are fighting down the bottom too. So it could be tricky. And as we'll come on to with Aston Villa, they're picking up the other way. So Champions League looks an issue because that 5th place I think is now dripping away, isn't it? Because the poor performances of some of the English teams in Europe last week have basically killed that, I think. So they need to hit 4th. How they view that season if they don't hit 4, because no one expected them to be in it early on, but it's dropped right off. Be a funny one. Be interesting to know what Tottenham fans think this season overall when it ends.
Yeah, because I mean, I think there is a bit of that, isn't it? Is expectation. Expectation is a strange one that people sort of need to manage at the moment. I mean, in the chat, we've got Chris is saying Spurs made mistakes, especially for the first, and Newcastle second. And Spenny Fan Chris is agreeing Gordon's goal in the second was a god-awful mistake with the back. A lot of mistakes being made with people trying to play football. I mean, I don't know if you can remember back when we were right at the early stage of the season, I sort of said about, someone was saying, is Maddison going to be a sign in the season? I said, it all depends for me how he was when he comes back from injury, because he does that all the time, doesn't he? He does a really good start, gets injured, comes back, and he's a little bit leggy for the rest of the season. It's like he's that doesn't recuperate well enough, or we thought, actually, I really enjoyed being at home playing a little bit of FIFA. I might just try and phone it in, and it's a little bit. It is a little bit disappointing. Sean's saying wanted his cake and to eat at the same time, and Simon agrees with you. Look at that, you and Simon, you're on the same wavelength as even Sam. That is lovely.
I'm sure we won't become Wembley at the weekend, but right now, yes, we're on the same wavelength.
I mean, like you said, the possession was heavily in Tottenham's favourite possession and pass. I mean, Mikey, did you catch any of this game, and how did it make you feel?
Yeah, I watched it before season ticket holder at Forest, so we watched it in the pub beforehand. It was a really interesting game. I think you have to be an elite team to win at Newcastle. I say that because only Forest and Liverpool have done it this season, I think, in the league. So Tottenham are Tottenham, right? And I think, Sam, you touched on it. I think Ange has got his way of playing and won't change it. And I think in the main, you speak to a lot of Tottenham fans and they're quite happy with that because they've come from Jose Mourinho and Conte, which was, in essence, very pragmatic, negative football. So to have a manager and a leader that sets their team up to go to Newcastle and try and go toe-to-toe with them is probably quite refreshing. The thing is, though, guys, if you're going to do that, you're going to get tonked occasionally. And that's kind of what you saw on Saturday. So they went for it. It didn't work and they got tonked. they play that game again next week, they might get a 2-1 or a 3-2. You just don't know. But I think the essence of the way Tottenham's set up, I think, goes down very well with the majority of Tottenham fans. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of people moaning about it. I think if you would have offered them chasing fourth at this time in the season, they would have took it.
Yeah.
As for Newcastle, it's a hard place to go up there. I used to live about half an hour from Newcastle. It's a football cauldron. It's a bubble, and they make it really difficult up there. So a lot of teams do get turned over. So the result didn't surprise me. I guess the way in which it panned out did. But I think, like I said, you play that game over and over again, you're going to get, Tottenham are going to come out on top on some. But I think, you were going through their fixtures, Sam. I quite, home to Arsenal, I quite fancy them, and I think they'll be there or thereabouts. So it was a bad day at the office for Spurs, good for Newcastle, but that's the Premier League, isn't it? Really, any team can pretty much beat anyone, as we know.
And it was good. I mean, what I did like from Maddison, he was very brutally honest after the game, where he did come out and sort of explain it wasn't good enough. The team didn't play good enough. There was a lot of mistakes that they made, and they just didn't seem to be added. Good for a meme that game, though. I don't know if you noticed it. I don't know what defender it was falling over. That's what we saw. This, I think, is that United? Did your defender fall over, Sam? He's frozen. He didn't want none of it.
Many of them constantly fall over. That's why none of them are there anymore.
But no, it was a good. I did enjoy it. And Isaac, would you? I don't know. You don't need him at United, really. You don't need that.
We need another striker. I mean, we've only got one. Let's be honest, because there's no Martial or anybody. So I'd happily take Isak, no doubt about it, and find a way to work that in. And I think for Arsenal, he'd be perfect. I think he's got Arsenal written all over him. But whether that happens, don't know. I wouldn't be surprised there'll be a lot of people sniffing around, even some of the European clubs as well. I mean, but also so Isak's getting a lot of plaudits, but Anthony Gordon as well. I mean, let's not forget he came at a big fee last, and I think everyone sniffed a little bit of the fee and went, okay.
I did.
But he settled in really nicely. I saw a stat today, he's got more home goals, hand in home goals than anybody else in the Premier League or something this season. And he suits that sort of style, quick, direct, particularly punching Tottenham on the counter-attack. Be very interesting to see whether he's going to sneak into the European squad, because I think he's having an excellent season.
Yeah, the way they play lends itself to somebody like Anthony Gordon, because they play the three tight in midfield, don't they? Whoever those three are, and then they just get it wide as quick as possible. And like you said, Sam, they just run, and that opens up the space to feed somebody as clinical as Isak. So he's probably at the perfect club, to be honest. And seriously, is there a better, more informed winger in the country other than, I guess, Cole Palmer kind of plays inside, doesn't he? But Anthony Gordon, I think if the squad was named tomorrow, he'd probably be on the
plane. We've got in the chat, while you talk about Cole Palmer, Chelsea are 4-0 up now. Chris and Sperry fan Chris, we're getting double Chris. I'm not sure. I'm trying to find out who scored, but Google hasn't caught up yet. It's behind at the moment, so I can't tell who scored. Hopefully, one of the Chris's can. Maybe one of the Chris's could furnish us. Nick, no, don't just make up names. Nicholas scored. Well, they're both there. Apparently, both Chris's said Nicholas Jackson scored. I don't believe either of you. I'll believe it when I see it, because I didn't think he did that at football games. But yes, but in regards to sort of bottle jobs, do you think this weekend, Sam? Did Spurs bottle it? Are they bottling this season, or do you think where they're at, the way that they're playing, that's about right?
Yeah, I think bottle jobs for Tottenham's harsh. I think as Mikey rightly said, lots of people lose at Newcastle. There's only the top three, I think, they've got a better home record than Newcastle. And yeah, I mean, their form's been pretty decent. You know, they've had the odd kind of blip, but I wouldn't say they've bottled it by any means. They're overachieving this season, let's be honest. No one had them down in our pre-season to be anywhere near the Champions League. So, and the fact that they're battling with sort of Aston Villa is probably feeding them even more, thinking, oh, okay, well, we're close. And when you get so close, then yeah, I think see what happens. I mean, if they go on a run and they completely lose the plot over the next few weeks, then yeah, that'll tell you. But as Mikey said, they're sticking to this Ange ball, and if they can get some success doing it, that then builds the belief in the supporters in the club to back it again next transfer window. And if they've got European football as well, then they feel like they're on the up because, if you turn back the clocks 12 months, Tottenham were in absolute dire straits, weren't they?
Dire Straits, good band they were. Mikey, is Spurs bottling it, or under the first season under Postecoglou, do you think this is where they should be?
No, Sam's right. You can't go from what they've gone through and come from, should I say, to where they want to be in the space of 6 to 12 months. It's just not going to happen. So they've gone from negative, turgid, pragmatic football that most of the fans hated to somebody that will just, remember the Chelsea game where they had 9 men and just kept going for it. You've gone from one extreme to the other, and it's going to take time, and you're going to have bumps in the road. So you are going to get a 4-0 at Newcastle occasionally. It's just the way it's going to be. But I think people have signed up to this approach. I think the key is probably going to be, once he's had a couple of transfer windows and his bench reflects him and his style and what he wants to do, then he's going to be judged. But that's 12 months down the line for me, not now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think all managers need at least a season and a half, really 2 seasons before they can be judged. But we've got in the chat, Trammy Over's show. Obviously, his team aren't in the Prem, but his Premier League team is Aston Villa. And he feels they're petering out right now. And they've had this. You think they're petering out? That is the next game we'll go to then on our route of bottle jobs. Arsenal 0, Aston Villa 2. 2 goals for Aston Villa. Very enjoyable end to the game. Not the bulk of it. I mean, Mikey, did you catch that game? If you did, how did it make you feel?
Really interesting game of football. So it takes a very brave team to go to the Emirates and have a go at them. So after they weathered that first 20 minutes, which, Arsenal started well, they were buoyed by the fact that Liverpool messed up. So, there's an extra step.
I did notice for their fan base on Twitter.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, so they were buoyed by that. They started on the front foot. They started well. Villa rode their luck a little bit. But as the half came to a close, I think everybody watching saw a bit of a change. The tempo dropped a little bit. And Unai Emery then, who I think is an elite manager, came into his own. And that second half was how to play an away game of football for me. So I think what kind of got me about Arsenal is I'm not sure they started the best team or even the best formation. And I just think sometimes it's a bit of a cliche, this, but when you can't win a game, don't lose it. So I just felt with 20 minutes to go, I was just expecting Villa to score. They kept breaking. They were having control. The crowd were getting frustrated. And I think Gary Neville might have said it, but they had Jorginho on the bench and a few others. And I was just thinking, if you brought that guy on and just try to get a bit of control of the game, you'll get chances toward the end of the game to win it. And they didn't. In fact, they only made changes, I think, when they went 1-0 down. Certainly, in terms of the shape and the way they played. It was just one of them days where it didn't work out for Liverpool. It didn't work out for Arsenal. But you can't take that away from Villa. I thought that was an astonishing second half performance. And I'd love my club to go away and be so brave to go toe-to-toe with one of the big boys of the league, which they did, and quite rightly proved why they are pushing for top 4, because they're really, really good. They've got some incredible players. They're 2 centre-backs, their midfield. Douglas Luiz, great player. Ollie Watkins is on fire. I think he's going to go to the Euros. It was just a really clever, astute, tactical performance in the second half, and they were very clinical as well, and Arsenal almost ran out of steam. And you could see it coming. That's what I'm saying. You could sense it, couldn't you, watching the game? That something needed to change, and maybe they'll learn from it. I don't know, but it's a really good game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Tremmy have overshow in the chat. They said they were at the game, and so Aston Villa just didn't stop trying from the start to the finish, especially in the second half. And you see about being clinical: 2 shots on target, 2 goals. I mean, the Ollie Watkins goals as well. I did enjoy. I mean, Sam, little bit of messing around at the back again, though. That sort of they're creating some of their own issues, and bizarre for an Arsenal team that have been quite solid. What do you think happened in this game?
I think, the first half, Arsenal I thought were quite good. They were quite good, as well as sort of Villa were coping with them. I mean, the first half had a crazy amount of shots as well. The Arsenal were doing some stuff in the first half. They just looked a bit more lethargic as they went on. I think I said a few weeks back, it was interesting to see how the Champions League would affect them, because they're not used to that massive midweek game, and particularly the way it's set up at the moment is this is the sandwich in between their 2 massive clashes with Bayern Munich. It's just such a it's such a draining thing. I can remember so many times Champions League clubs, the next game afterwards, there's just a little bit flat, can't quite get it going, sloppy passing, and that's kind of what you saw, I think, a little bit at the back. He made some changes, but he's been playing Havertz up front and it's kind of worked. I don't really understand why bringing Jesus in for that game was there, because it's not like he was rotating to rest because of Bayern Munich. That I don't think made an awful lot of sense to me. And they'll be worried about how they handled the pressure, I think, because now they've got a massive game in midweek as well. Suddenly that goes against them, which in Bayern's backyard has the potential to, I know Bayern have been poor in the Bundesliga, but they turned up at the Emirates the other week. Nothing to say that they won't the other day. They went in the second leg. So Arsenal have it's one game and they've had a phenomenal run, but it's because of what they're up against, this Manchester City juggernaut. There can't be any errors. It's just you cannot have one game off. And as Mikey said, maybe it was the game that if they'd have drawn, then you'd have gone, not ideal, a slip, but not. But to lose it in the fashion that they kind of did was I think will hurt them. I say they've got the North London derby coming up, and Tottenham would love to be the ones to stick the nail in the coffin. They've got to go to Old Trafford, which we're a basket case at Old Trafford at times.
Could be any team.
Any kind of chaos could happen there, and it's not the kind of chaos they probably want at the moment. So, they'll be extremely disappointed, and Mikel Arteta, I'm sure, will be frustrated. But Unai Emery, what a job he's doing at Aston Villa. I mean, if they make Champions League, I think it's a hard call not to give him manager of the season.
I don't know how Charlotte called that at the start of the season. I'm sure Charlotte had him like fourth.
She's got him fifth, I think she did. Fifth or sixth.
Something like that. Which, I mean, it was such a good shot. I mean, I get there's elements of logic because Aston Villa did okay in patches at the tail end of last season. Emery's a good manager. They've got money behind them, but where they've ended up is
superb. She also picked out as well, just to give Charlotte a props, after that first game as well, she picked up on Alex Ferguson had said something after they got pumped at Newcastle 5-1. He went, Villa look a team, and everyone's going, but they just lost 5-1. That's ridiculous. And then look what's happened now. Crazy.
I think the only thing I was sort of feeling, what it looked like to me as the game sort of dragged on, is I think you are seeing a little bit of the innocence of youth, if you like, in the team of Arsenal and Arteta's management, because this is only the second title run that they've been in. The first one when they've had to balance them big competitions, and I do think there was a little bit of naivety and not inexperience is the big thing. And I, having watched that wonderful Amazon Prime documentary, All for Nothing, over at Arsenal. I think he looks like the sort of manager that would have got really animated and tried to do something, but would have made the whole team a lot more nervous because they haven't got that experienced head. And there's so much. I mean, they've got like Zinchenko and Jesus from Man City would have had that experience of winning, but there's not that. Ironically, the man who won a title this week, Granit Xhaka, in midfield, just to, in theory, if he plays like at Arsenal, he's a basket case. But if he played at Arsenal like he's at Leverkusen, as that sort of calming influence and that midfield metronome, they would have done that. I felt like they were just losing their heads a little bit, especially for that Ollie Watkins goal. It's just a bit of naivety, isn't it?
I think it was the panic set in. I think that after that first goal went in, they were, oh my God, like this is now got to happen. The fans, the nervousness at a home game in the stadium seeps through there as well. So I think the fans kind of did, and they suddenly were, they left themselves way open. And it was, I think it was Smith Rowe he was up against in the race at the back, which is how that's happened. I don't know, but a phenomenal finish from Ollie Watkins. Another one he's having just an insane season. Just that coolness, that classness. And Villa, don't forget, Villa played Conference League in midweek, so it wasn't like they had the week off. They had a big clash for themselves as well. So, but. Brilliant. Him and Leon Bailey. Shout out Leon Bailey too, because that guy just is always involved in goals. Like
it was good.
He can't stop it.
He's another one that Charlotte did call out, and Trammy of Overshaw is saying us lower league fans know everything. She did call out Leon Bailey's going to do well, and I enjoyed his goal as well, and his smile after he scored it warmed the cockles of my heart. It was just, it's really good. I'm enjoying seeing Aston Villa where they are. And again, they feel like Aston Villa, the Premier League team of Ipswich. We shouldn't really be there, and the manager's done a good job. We do enough, just enough, and that could spell Champions League, which I think
it could do. And Douglas Luiz was suspended at the weekend as well. He's been one of their better players, and they went there without him. So fair play to the squad as well.
I would love to see Aston Villa in the Champions League, because I don't think they're a team where they would get there and then be panicking, what we're going to be doing, because they've got that finance behind them. They can continue to build that squad without worrying too much about FFP. Unai Emery's a very shrewd operator. He's been there, he's seen there, he's done that. I'm trying to think. There was a Telemans effort in the first half. I can't think what it was. Could anyone remember what it was? Because it made me smile and it's annoying me. I can't think what happened.
The one where he hit the bar on the post.
That's the one, yeah. What an effort that was.
Yeah, I'm really pleased. I'm pretty pleased with Villa. I'm all for Midlands football, of course, but Villa are one of the biggest, most successful English teams. Champions League winners. It's good to see them back, and I just thought it was just two excellent teams going at each other. And I think the coaching skills of Emery came to the fore in the second half. I think the way he deployed his team, and the concentration levels they've shown to sort of outwit the Arsenal juggernaut. Arsenal are a phenomenal team as well. I think it's incredible, and they deserve to be where they are. So fair play to them.
Yeah, it was good. I tell you what, I mean, anybody's take on, does anyone picked up every time Saka doesn't have a particularly good game or he doesn't do anything, he limps off. He never limps off if he scores and he does well, but whenever he has a bit of a dodgy game, he limps. Is that just me, or is that an actual thing that's happening?
I don't think he's alone. There's a few at Forest that do that as well. So yeah, the ones that get subbed and then all of a sudden just find this limp that they haven't had for the last 70 minutes. Like, I'm being taken off because I'm injured, not because I'm underperforming. Yeah, Saka's not alone in that.
Do you know what I do the same with my wife? If I'm having an argument with her, my chest, I'm just feeling, you just give me a bit of stress.
Hamstring's gone. Gone.
Just leave me, sweetheart. And but Sean is saying, sorry, Mikey, but Northampton's the best team in the Midlands.
Yeah, they're doing
well. And but in the chat as well, we've got the wonderful Claire Jeffs, who has celebrated her team being promoted,
winning.
The Stockport dream just lives on. And if you haven't checked out Claire's wonderful reaction video that Sam has very kindly put into YouTube for us, do check it out. It's performing very well. It's wonderful to see raw emotion, and Claire attempted to be eloquent is always a wonderful thing to see. But it's really good video. It's really good to see a fan's true perspective and heart and everything out there to see. So check that out on YouTube, but not yet. Don't check it out yet. And Traveling Rovers show said, I just need to mention the Man United game as well. Bournemouth absolutely class. Man United had nothing to offer. That is the game that we're coming on to next. Sam, I'm sorry, it has to be done, but don't worry, I've got pain. I've got pain to feel as well. But worse than yours, because yours was only a draw. Bournemouth 2, Manchester United 2. You didn't lose. How does that one make you feel?
This season, man. I'm just. It's if it weren't for the FA Cup next week, I'd be. I think they've said on the lower league show. There's a couple of them. I think both Ant and Nick have said they've always down tools because it's just so. Yeah, there's no devoid. There's no team playing when United are turning up at the moment. We're just so reliant on individual moments, refereeing decisions at the weekend we needed as well. I hear what Tranmere Rovers show saying. Bournemouth were, they did some stuff very well, but I think we make anyone look class at the moment. I really do. We are so open to play against. It's just the most bonkers style football that you're watching. So easy to cut through. Just pour around. We concede so many shots, and the reason for that is we can't keep the ball. We're sloppy in possession, give it away too easily, turned over. The midfield's not right, and this is why the Ten Hag pressures not starting to build is well and truly building. Because the thing is we're in that cycle. United fans have seen this since the post-Fergie era. We get there sort of into the second, third year of someone's tenure, and it seems to be that the players drop off a little bit. Nothing's quite happening right with the manager. Little things start coming out in frustration. So the fans have kind of been like, we don't want to jump on the manager because we can see what's happening. This is the same cycle again. It's toxic. It's nonsense. But there's stuff out there you can't defend. I mean, we've got. I know the defensive issues have been a problem all season with injuries. It's caused us a nightmare because we've got no consistent back line. But I think someone alluded to that we had 9 of the players we would play out there without them. You know, the midfield, that's probably the best midfield we would play. The front three's probably the front three would play. But what the fans are getting frustrated with is we're not trying anything different. Like we've got Mason Mount has been back 3 weeks now, I think, since his injury. He came on against Liverpool in the Cup, I think was his first one. That was about 3-4 weeks ago. And if you remember when we signed Mason Mount, we all went, that's a big fee, and I don't really know where he fits in. Oh. But I'm interested to see, because clearly they do, because he was the number 1 target. And we're not using him and don't seem to know what to do with it when you're thinking, does Ten Hag know? I mean, what did we do? We just want to see something different. In the league, the European football now is gone. Try and do something different, but focus on Sunday, because it's a huge game. Somehow we've got an opportunity to be in an FA Cup final, and we have players that are not team players, are individuals, and we somehow pick out moments. I saw this the other day. We've won 4 of the goal of the months this season. None of them are team goals. Garnacho's overhead kick, Kobbie Monu's one-man run, Rashford's belt against Man City. So we have that in the team, and that gets us out of situations. But at the weekend, we were lucky. Bournemouth were by far the better team. Bournemouth should have killed us in the first half. Should have been 3-4 up. We got a very, 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 very questionable penalty.
Yeah. Are we cutting people's arms off now? Is that the only way to avoid a handball?
I think we've just lost the point of why we've got handballs. If you just take it to the basics of why we've got a handball, is to stop. It was to stop people doing this and to stop using their hands for the balls and to stop things. That's the whole point of it. Not to find it, and particularly when it's deflections off of body parts. I mean, I couldn't get it. There was one with Maguire that wasn't earlier either, and even that was checked. And then the second one, you're thinking, come on, if it's given against you, we're all going to go bananas. So you can't really defend it, I don't think.
It is weird, like I said. I mean, like that. I remember the Arsenal handball against Liverpool, where Odegaard dribbled it around his body. That's okay, but then a deflection off someone's leg into their arm.
This is what's crazy. I think every club has got, and I remember ones from United this season, last season. We've all got 2 or 3 instances. We're going, but what about that one? And this is what it comes down to. It's madness.
It's very, very, very bananas. But I've seen Mikey unmute more than once. I'm weary. I'm weary. You wanted to say something. I'm cutting you off.
No, not at all. No. I was really intrigued about what Sam was saying. I've got a question for you, Sam. Right, as a Man U fan.
Go on, yeah.
You see if I could phrase it in a way which doesn't give my opinion, but gives you 2 options. So, is it the players that are underperforming? Because it seems to me there's a regular scenario where every year or so the manager comes under pressure because the players, these same players, performance levels dip, and then when a new manager takes over, you get that bounce and vice versa. It's not your Man U aren't the only club to do this, or is it the manager isn't good enough? So we spoke about Emery's masterclass in the second half. Do you think Ten Hag could have done anything like that, or is it a bit of both? Where's your head at in terms of who's to blame for the inconsistencies for Man U?
It's an absolute cluster mess, as I always see it. It's exactly as you say. It's a mix of everything, I think, because the players and the mix and the team and the strategy you've got isn't working, and some of that is obviously how Ten Hag and the coaching staff are setting them up. Some of that is whether that's getting through to the players, and the inconsistency in the team tells you that the players are dropping off as well, because you can't be great for 10-15 minutes and then not be for the next 10-15 minutes. That's a player concentration thing. But also a lot of the players are now different from the last set of players that we had, and that comes down to the recruitment and the nonsense and the that we end up with. We've got, I think, was it Jamie Redknapp said Casemiro was playing in Soccer Aid at the weekend. His legs have gone. You've got that in kind of midfield. We've also got scenarios where we're having to bring in young players, which is great. It's the history of the club. We want young players coming through. But we used to bring young players through with great experience around them to nurse them in. And we're now having young players that have got to just perform at the highest level immediately. We've been fortunate with Kobbie Mainoo that he's come in and been brilliant. But you look at the poor kid, Kambala, at the weekend. I mean, he made some errors, and that can happen with young players. But who's he got? You know, the gap between him and Dallo. Where's his right back? You know, it's been like, I'm not stepping away from you. I'm going to pull you in, and that's the right characters of players are not there, and Ten Hag is now starting to show the pressures, and it is it the way he's setting the tactics, or is it not getting through to the players? It's got to be a bit of both, and then you've got all the mess that's behind the scenes as well. It's the hardest thing to pinpoint, to say it's that and that, and that's why United fans are just going left, right, and centre, because there's so much to point at. That's the thing.
I know what you're saying, mate. I think that's a fair answer. I think where I'm coming from a neutral for Man U and watching Man U is, last 2 times they've been on telly, the last 2 times I've seen them, you've been outplayed by Bournemouth, outplayed by Brentford, and I saw you down the City ground and with
you outplayed us as well,
basically. So that's not good enough for Man U. So it must, and you're right, the inconsistencies of your players. I see you for 10, 20 minutes, you look like you can beat any team, and then the drop off is significant. So I agree with you. I think it's a bit of both. I have questions about the leadership as a whole for Man United, from the manager upwards and downwards. But I think the players, I think some of them are having a bit of some of them are on the holidays, mate, for one of
well, they are, because you only have to see how they performed at points in the Liverpool games in the last month or so. You know, there were points of that. Once we equalised against Liverpool, we were a different team last week. But for 40 minutes of that, dreadful, then we pick up again. And it's just this up and down dip. And that's why, you know, with no disrespect to Coventry, you would be going into the FA Cup semi-final in most seasons going, we've just got to turn up. We turn up and do what we can do. But you just don't trust that we know how to manage that game and occasion, where in the past that we have done. I mean, yes, this is it. Simon and Coventry fans are feeling, and rightfully so, going, they're going to have a lot of shots against United, because, as you said, we do it against everybody. Newport scored twice against us and we gave them opportunities. So Coventry are bloody going to get 10, 15 shots. And if they're clinical, we're in trouble. So it is this season is just kind of if you can get through to the FA Cup final, that would be a something to look forward to, I think, for United fans. I wouldn't say much hope if Man City are sitting there in the final, but he certainly can't lose to Coventry at the weekend, or that will be there's no coming back for that. There will be no coming back. I think that will pull the trigger.
I mean, we've got a lot of chat on this, and so Chris is a United fan. He blames Erik ten Hag and the coaching team, but the players are lazy as well. Tranmere Rose say Man United's a big mess at the moment. Lots of very young players or very old players, and the balance isn't quite right. And we've got Grimmy on Twitch. Thank you for joining us, Grimmy, even if you're here just to watch me get upset in a little bit. Still love you either way, even though you didn't invite me to your wedding, which I took personally. Well, you know, he's saying you need a big summer clear out, whatever happens next season, but do a proper rebuild. And I think that if I was a United player and I had a concern over how you perform, other than it being not as good as ours, there's so much, and that's it's good that you look like the leadership model is sorting itself out. From a United fan perspective, I think that looks good that they're doing that, but there's so much wrong. This is a team that's been put together over 850 different managers over the last couple of seasons. The attitude just seems disgraceful. There's very few players in there with the right attitude playing for the team consistently. It's all about themselves, as you said. Players, games of moments, you seem to have. And what do you do? Originally, I would be honest, a couple of months ago, I would have thought keep the manager, get rid of everybody bar Garnacho, Onana, Højlund, and maybe one other. I would just just bomb them all out. But I think, and Chris is saying here, Erik ten Hag walk out his press conference, so it could be the worst season ever. I think he's at the point now where I almost get the feeling like he's got a list of names for who's playing today. I don't know, mate. Here's some numbers. Whatever names are associated with these numbers, that's who's going to play today. And the players like, well, formation. Let's just get out the side on the pitch. That's what it sort of feels. I think, mate, I don't envy the job that needs to be done at United, because I don't where do you start?
Well, this is it. It's the same when Ten Hag came in. We're back there again, and this is now the fourth. What are we now on? Fourth or fifth manager, I suppose. And we've had some big quality managers in that period. Okay, this is the hope: is that the backroom changes, the management changes, the recruitment changes, and therefore it supports the manager in a different way. That's the hope we've got going forward. But Mourinho, Van Gaal, top names in European football. Ten Hag came with up and coming pedigree from. He played a wonderful style of football at Ajax. Ajax played some of the most exciting football that we'd seen in Europe for a few years, and for whatever reason can't replicate that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's exciting. I mean, it's bonkers and it's crazy and it's frustrating, but it's not Arsenal Man City the other week. Stuff's happening. There are goals in Man United games every week. That's the one thing you can guarantee, but it's not controlled and it's never going to get you to where the club want to get back to.
It's unnerving, but I mean, on the flip side, though, Bournemouth, as we did touch on, we'll give Bournemouth their props because they're playing some good football. They're performing well. I mean, I tried to look with it, 13th in the league. That is a sort of just solid. I think that's higher than any of us predicted. I mean, Mikey, I'm assuming you might have seen more Bournemouth than us sort of historically over the last couple of seasons. I mean, what do you think of the work that's been done there?
Yeah, good. Yeah, really good. You've got to give them the props, like you said, Josh. I think it's they have a very distinct, defined way of playing. They've got Dominic Solanke up front that will run forever. So there's a guy that puts in a lot of effort, and they've got a manager who Forest was sniffing around before we appointed Nuno, and I kind of wish we would have got him, if I'm honest, because he's got them playing, hasn't he? And you always know what you're going to get with Bournemouth. It's irrelevant where they play, whether it's home or away. That Bournemouth always turns up. So they don't have a way of playing away that differs from home. They don't pack the defence, play 5-4-1. They just play the way they play, and it's usually good enough to beat a lot of teams. So I think mid-table's about right for them. If I lived down there, I'd go watching. They're quite an entertaining watch. They score plenty of goals. There's always a bit of jeopardy with them because they're not the greatest defensively. And when they came to the City grounds, they beat us 3-2 and scored in the last minute. That game could have been 10-10. So, honestly, they're a good watch, and fair play to them. And it's never dull watching Bournemouth. But I don't know what their ceiling is, though. I'll be honest. I think it's just with their ground and their income, location in the country. I don't know. Maybe this is it for them. I don't want to sound disrespectful. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but it feels to me as if they're giving 120, 130%, even if that's possible. You know what I mean? They kind of punch it. Let's be honest.
They've hit that sort of ceiling because they're at the verge of. I think this is going to be they need 5 or 6 points for this to be their best ever finish in the Premier League as well. So yeah, I can hear what you say. And they've taken over. They are, bar Brighton, because I'm say on the south coast. It's difficult to justify where you kind of start and stop it because you've got Brighton in there as well. But yeah, Bournemouth have. In the past, you had Southampton and Portsmouth, 2 massive clubs down here, and Bournemouth have by far gone past them. But as you said, I wonder where they've got a good manager and they seem to have some decent recruitment going on. So they seem to me, they're hitting that kind of established Premier, like we're seeing at the minute with Fulham and Crystal Palace, that they're going to sort of sit there. But as you say, Mikey, where beyond that, I'm not too sure without a massive overhaul of investment.
Yeah, they've also got the best song I've heard this year. With that Zabani that they've got a centre back, they sing the Whitney Houston "I Want to Dance with Somebody" to him, which is incredible. So they deserve to stay up just for that.
I mean, and I'm with you in that there's a ceiling because of the size of the club, the stadium where they're located, which is sad to see, but it's nice. I think, and it's where fans' expectations sit is going to determine whether the club keep the manager and allow him to perform, have those dips and then peaks and troughs that you're going to have, or not. Because we spoke about it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Fans' expectations. I think we were talking about West Ham at the time with Charlotte the other week. Where the fans looking for their clubs to be, and where are you happy for them to sit? Because there are some teams that are always going to be those top 6, and the finances, the size of the clubs, they're always going to be top 6. But you've got your Brentfords, Bournemouths, Brightons, those sort of teams where they're not big enough. They've not got enough there to peak that. The only way they could do that is if it was a level playing field and FFP worked and there was some proper financial control, which that the horse has already bolted on that one. So there is, and if It's just where their fans are happy with them being. And because I think if their fans stay on side and support through the good and the bad doesn't get too bad, there'll be a team that'll always be fun to watch,
No, definitely. I do. Bournemouth, I've got a lot of time for Bournemouth, and they played very well. They were the worst kind of play for us because of the way they transition well. They had Semenyo out as well. He's had a really good season. Yeah. I think they were a bit Quattara should have scored twice in the first half. I think the jury's a little bit out on him, but they've got they've got a great way of playing, fantastic kind of fan base, and I like Bournemouth as a team. So congratulations to them. And Dominic Solanke is putting everyone to rights. It's just a shame for him that there's so much quality in that that position, isn't there?
If it was last season, there wouldn't have been as much. But like Ollie Watkins decided, I'm going to do bits now. That he's doing bits in the chat. Everybody loves you, Sam. Here's another one from Glenn. That's lovely.
It's good that we can dream. Everyone needs dreams.
If you don't have a dream, you'll never have a dream come true.
Exactly. That's what S Club are all about.
I thought it was Disney, to be honest with you. As Benefeld said, how Bournemouth has such low capacity they're in the league. It's because they've I must say their stadiums. Is it? Am I silly thinking it's 12,000 capacity?
It's about that. I've been down there. Yeah, it's tiny, and I think I might talk about FFP if you like me in a bit. But I think if they change the rules and do it on income, in terms of your commercial income, Bournemouth are one of the teams that may struggle going forward because obviously they've not got 50,000 capacity stadium, have they? But to be fair to them, like I said, the recruitment, I think you touched on it, Josh. The recruitment's excellent. They've got some very good, technically gifted players with a high ceiling that will only get better, and they can probably sell on for a profit. So not every team does that. So at the moment they're looking quite healthy, but like I said, I mean, where's the ceiling from? I don't know, but at the moment they're looking good.
And like I said, it's having to sell those players. You develop them, get them, and then you have to sell them to be sustainable, and that's where along with the capacities, we're just going to peak them. I mean, we are. I do want to talk about the Forest game, but I'm going to give this over to you guys. Normally, I would leave Liverpool getting abused until like the last game that we cover, in the hope that we went out of time. What games do you want to go? Do you want to leave Forest for a bit, or should we do Liverpool last? I'm happy to be guided on this because I don't want to talk about it.
I'll let you. They're your two clubs. I'll let you two decide. I'll chip in on both.
Mikey, then Nottingham Forest do, Wolves do. An exciting game for the neutral, but how did that one make you feel?
Oh my word! Okay, so if this was the fourth or fifth game of the season, or even mid-season, I'd be like, "Yep, points, not bad. I'm okay with Forest." The position we're in and the jeopardy we're in, and the fact we've got Man City and Chelsea coming up, that was a game that we really needed to win, if I'm honest with you. And if you look at, for those that watch the highlights, or it was on Game of the Day on Sky, if you watch that, the extended highlights, we had enough chances to win it. Typical Forest, every goal we concede is the same. So we've conceded 22 set-piece goals this season. That's by far the most in the league of any club. So basically, the blueprint for beating Forest is get the ball in the box because we can't defend it. And lo and behold, Wolves had one corner and scored from it. So the frustration levels with Forest fans was quite high coming out of the ground because, again, we played some good stuff. We were leading with 25 minutes to go and yet again found a way not to win a football game. But like I said, it's just because of the jeopardy we were in that it felt like 2 points dropped rather than a point gained from a Forest perspective. And we've built up this bit of a rivalry with Wolves since we've come up, and it's quite an organic one. It's not one that's been built in any sort of past.
Gibbs White really helped that as well, didn't
That's exactly right. So it's Gibbs White. There's also Nuno factor. There's also that every time we have a match with him, there seems to be some spiky decisions and some nasty challenges. So there was a bit of angst around the crowd for both sets of sport. It was a good natured, but it was a tasty game. And I think speaking to Wolves fans afterwards, they were pleased with the point. I think with their injury crisis, they've got a lot of players out. So I think the point was okay for them. But for Forest, on another day, it would have been okay. But like I said, the perilous position we're in, it didn't feel good. So the games we've got coming up are big. We've got Everton next, then we've got Man City, Chelsea, Sheffield, Burnley, and I think that's about it. So the games are running out. But that game, like I said, on Saturday was a good game of football. Some good goals scored. I think as a neutral, you'd probably say draw was about right. But like I said, I'm emotionally invested in it. And I just look at all the chances that we missed and thought we should have won that game. But it is what it is. It's going to go down to the last day of the season. Wolves are fine. They're a half decent side. And when they get the players back, they'll be good. And Forest are scrapping to stay in this league, to keep their heads above water. And it's a toss of a coin, if I'm honest with you. That's kind of where I'm at with them.
I mean, you said you got Everton next. I believe it will still being battered 4-0 by Chelsea, which that might be a nice time to play Everton, all demoralised. Or do you think that there's a chance there might be a bit of a bounce back against you?
Do you know what, mate? It is, on the face of it, a good time to play them. But you know what I've just said about us not being able to defend crosses? They've scored the most set-piece goals in the league, and we've conceded the most. So the blueprint to beat us, if you're Sean Dyche, is just get the ball in the box.
He's not a fan of that. He doesn't like direct play.
So that's why I'm worried. We've got the players to beat them. I think if the ball's on the ground, the most of the game will win the game. I think we'll certainly score. But my confidence levels about keeping clean sheets from crosses is next to nothing. So if you want to bet, both teams to score is practically free money, as far as I can see.
Well, I mean, Chris was saying in the chat he bet 2-2. So he went for the Desmond. I'm going to remember that for if my wife allows me to put anything on the football anytime soon. I'll try and remember that one. I tell you, as a Liverpool fan, is Origi doing anything for you at the moment?
Oh my! See if anybody's listening in Nottingham. I don't know whether you saw the chance that he missed. He fluffed with about a minute left when he's through on goal. All the chatter coming out of the ground, and I won't repeat what was said, was not favourable to that man at all. So he's not impressed. He's not scored a Premier League goal for 2.5 years, I think. He's not scored for Forest, obviously, this season. I don't know why he was on the pitch, if I'm honest. He's not the only one. There are a lot of players that are underperforming, but for the wage that he's on, which is a lot of money, and we're paying the vast majority of it, I'm led to believe, you expect more. It's a bit like what you were saying, Sam, with, and it's not all about money. I'm not saying, you could be paid 50p. It's kind of irrelevant. But when you see their body of work in the past, some of your players, like a Rashford or someone like that, when you look at Divock Origi, who's scored Champions League winning goals, and then he comes to Forest and he can't make a 5-yard pass, the drop-off is just significant. And, the frustration levels with Forest fans after that game, partly because of his late miss, was audible. It was bad.
I can imagine because, like you said, while he was at Liverpool, you'd want him to come on. You'd want him to be that sub to bring on. And I thought when he was signed for Forest, that's a good place for him to play football because it all sort of suits the style of play and the players that you had. I've noticed not quite been well. I mean, again, selfishly, Nico Williams, a fellow Welshman, how is he for you?
He's doing great, actually. I'm glad you asked me about him, Josh, because I think we spoke about him last time I was on. He's cemented that right-back place as his own, and he's fun. I know he's great for the Welsh national team. He's been brilliant for Forest, and he's one of the shining lights of the season. And if we had another 10 Nico Williams, we wouldn't be in this position. That is an absolute fact, because what he lacks occasionally in decision making and other stuff that he makes up for in endeavour and hard work. And as a football fan, especially when you go and watch the games, you'll never boo your team if you can see him sweating and giving everything. And that's what he does. I just question some of the others, if I'm honest. But Nico, no. More Nico Williams, please, mate. I think he's been brilliant for Forest this season.
Yeah, I was sad when he left Liverpool because I want him to come through and play well. But it's good to see him getting that regular football, and I want all Welsh players to be at that level playing regular football because I'm incredibly selfish and all I care about is my stuff. But if anybody does care, Cole Palmer scored another goal. It is Chelsea 5, Everton 0. What is going on there? Unbelievable. I didn't know Chelsea could score goals, but apparently only 2 people at Chelsea could score goals. So that's all they need. Mark Cole Palmer and they're knackered. Do you play Chelsea anytime soon, Mikey? Because if you do, I think
you do.
Yeah, we do, mate. We've got Everton away next game, and then we've got
Manchester City.
Yeah, then Chelsea.
Yeah, so you'll have a bit of a sort of up and down. I think you'll beat Everton, you'll lose the City, you'll wallop Sheffield United, and who knows at Chelsea? Who knows what is going to go on at that one? I think. I mean, the lovely comment from Simon. He wants you to go down for getting rid of Cooper.
Thanks, mate.
I'll be honest. I mean, I was surprised with the Nuno appointment in that for me. If I remember correctly, at that point in time, you were playing very exciting, trying to play fast, fluid football, and all of my knowledge of Nuno is the opposite of everything that Forest were. I mean, how was he worked out from a fan's perspective for you?
It's a good question. I would say the general reaction is one of ambivalence, if I'm honest. So it's very difficult. It's like when you replace, and people will go, I'm going over the top, but I'm really not. When you replace a Ferguson or an Arsene Wenger or somebody like that, somebody that's done so much for the city and the club, and you've got to remember when Cooper took over at Forest, we were bottom of the Championship, and within 18 months, he's got us promoted and kept us in the Premier League, which is like unheard of. So he's a bit of a god round here. So anybody that was going to replace him is going to be on a bit of a hard time at the start. And I think results have been up and down, and I'm probably being kind to Nuno. Performances, I think, have been okay in the main, but results, we are where we are in the league and we're struggling. And I just think he's suffering because of who he's replaced. But I think if you look at some of the coaches that potentially we could have got in, I do question the appointment, and I question some of his team selections, like Divock Origi and a few others. But then you look at his CV, and he did very well with Wolves, got them in European football, and kept them, I think, 7th for a couple of seasons. So he did great with them. But he's yet to win over the Forest fans. I think keeping us up would be a good start. And then maybe have a pre-season and maybe try and influence his style on us. But at the moment, we're just fighting to survive, and there's not the love there that there was for the previous manager, which I guess is understandable, right? He meant more to the club than just the manager. He was the leader. He typified everything that we're about. So when you cut him out, it's like you cut away a piece of yourself. And you bring in Nuno, who is George Mendes' best mate, so that probably tells you why he might have got the job, because Aaron was very, very close to him.
Simon was asking.
Yeah, very true. It's a great. I think there's your answer. He's George Mendes' best mate. I think he was his best man at his wedding, and our owner's very close to George Mendes. So I think the plan is, if we stay up, we might benefit in the long term with some Mendes-inspired signings. But we've got to stay up. So he's not the one I would go for. But I'm loath to have a go at managers, because I know he's been dealt a tough hand. We lost more players to AFCON than any other team. Forest just shoot themselves in the foot. We've got a load of kids in the team. Both our centre-backs are 21. We've got 2 21-year-old midfielders. Our wingers are 22 and 23. They're all kids. So they just make mistakes over and over again. So he's been dealt a bad hand, but he's not Steve Cooper. Does that kind of answer the question? He needs to get over this, keep us up, and then people hopefully will learn to love him.
He's no Steve. And just in the chat, we've got Charlotte that's joined us. Good evening, Charlotte. Thank you for joining us. And I think Wednesday morning, I believe it is, Charlotte has a video which she did. I can't remember the name of the podcast. It was to do with mental health.
We'll share it on we'll share it on the socials, the mental health podcast or something. We will share it. Have a look on the Absolute Football Podcast Twitter. Char has a pod coming out.
I think it's 8:30 Wednesday morning. I believe that it comes out. So make sure you check it out, because Charlotte's wonderful in everything that she does in life in general, not just in football. Just being here is wonderful. But at the moment, you're in 17th position. You are appealing. You're very appealing to a lot of people, but also your points deduction. It doesn't happen until like end of May. So when everybody's making decisions about what they're going to do, that's when you'll figure out. I mean, how are you feeling? Do you have any feelings, or do you just head down?
I do. I could talk about this for ages, but I promise I'll summarise it in a minute, right? Maximum. So, what it reminds me of? It's like you've been caught stealing a loaf of bread or something from the shop, and your argument is, well, that guy's stealing a TV or something like that. Well, actually, he might be, and that'll be dealt with, but you still stole a loaf of bread. So what I'm trying to say is we broke the rules, and we need to take our punishment like a big boy. Whether people are doing even worse than us is almost irrelevant. And I'm sure they probably are, maybe. I should say, don't get sued. Maybe. And I'm sure that'll be dealt with. It just seems a lot easier to haul teams like Everton and Forest and Leeds and there's been loads of teams that have been hauled over the coals, these so-called littler clubs, not my words, the words of the guy from the FA, rather than take a big state-backed juggernaut team down into the courts. So I think we're being made an example of, but we did do something wrong, so we should suck it up and take it. I don't think we'll get any points back, if I'm honest, and nor should we, because we're stupid if we can't add up. So we spent too much money, and that's kind of what it is. We just need to learn from it, and the January transfer window was much more calmer by Forest standards. So you'd like to think that they understood what they'd done and they will learn from it and kind of go on from there. But yeah, we made a mistake. We miscalculated from a lot of things. We chucked everything at the wall, hoping some would stick, and we did stay up. But now we're in major trouble because of it. But you got to take your punishment and get on with it, and don't do it again.
Yeah, and it's do you know what? As a neutral, it's difficult. I mean, Forest is one of those teams I would like to stay up, as are Luton. I don't like the fact that the team could go down over their points deduction, but like you said, if you break the rules, you break the rules. You know you've broken the rules. So that's sort of the thing with Everton. And I don't know who else could battle with you. So the likelihood is you're going to end up upset because it's either going to be you or Luton. I mean, I'm looked at your games. I think you do have winnable games in Everton, Sheffield United, Burnley, possibly Chelsea. You're playing Chelsea at home. God knows what's going to actually happen there. So it's certainly doable. I'm just trying to see Luton's fixtures where they've got Brentford, Wolves, Everton, West Ham, and Fulham. I would argue they've got harder games than you have. Are you feeling confident? What's your gut telling you?
My gut's telling me we're in trouble, if I'm being absolutely brutally honest. So, but you can never predict, can you? So, this time last season when we were in a similar position, we drew away at Chelsea and then beat Arsenal at home, which is just mad for Forest. So, yes, we've got Man City. We've got a point against them as well, crazy enough. We've got Man City to come. We've got Chelsea. And then we've got the bottom two clubs. It will be so Forest to get something against Man City and Chelsea and then lose to Burnley and Sheffield. But my gut feel is it's going to go down to the last game of the season. I think they'll expedite our appeal. So I don't think it will drag over because that's just a bad look for the Premier League. I think they'll expedite ours and Everton's appeal. So I think we'll know what we need to do. And I think it will literally go down to the last kick of the game and you can toss a coin. But like I said, Forest are capable of winning all of those apart from Man City. But we're also capable of losing them. And I guess that's why you love the game, right? Because it's jeopardy.
Yeah, I hate jeopardy. He's a sod. I mean, Chris is just asking in the chat, for FFP, because of the Johnson sale, they got 20 million more than they could have about 6 weeks early, which I think is the nuts and bolts of it. They're arguing they sold him later to try and maximise the value. And the Premier League said, yeah, but that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's right. Honestly, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I think the rules are the rules. So the accounting period ended halfway through the transfer window. But what Forest are saying is, you want us to be sustainable. By holding on for 6 more weeks, we have become sustainable and got 20 more, I think it was 17 more million quid. But they're saying, okay, that's good, but that's not the rules. So whether the rules are rubbish is kind of a different argument. I think everybody thinks they are, which is kind of why they're going to be changed. But Forest still broke them. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the FFP will be a summer show after everything's happened and everything's done, because this I massively peed off. Why make a big song and dance out charging someone with 115 charges and do bugger all for half a year? What purpose does that serve? Let's not be silly. It drives me flipping crazy. But we will come to that one. I mean, Chris saying Burnley will be done with Sheffield United before Forest plays it. He feels the same as you. It'll be the last game, which is Luton's is Fulham, which is Fulham playing good. They do some good stuff to Fulham. So who knows what's going to happen there. I mean, and I think, look at that, we've been here an hour. I don't think we've got time to cover Liverpool Crystal Palace. Well, the last ball one we'll move on from. But we will give a little bit Liverpool 0, Crystal Palace 1. Sam, do you want to tell me how that one made you feel?
Yeah, you blew it, didn't you? I think it's the summary.
I hate Crystal Palace.
To be, yeah, it is always Crystal Palace, isn't it? Crystal Palace are the ones for you.
They're giving me PTSD, mate.
I got to be honest. I think I've been saying in a few weeks. You've been riding your luck a little bit. I think there's been a number of games recently over the past couple of months where you've got this fantastic record of coming back, but that also means you go behind a lot and you can't keep doing it. Can't keep doing it week after week, and that's what happened. You just had one where, and they missed. I mean, it was a colossal missed chances all over the place. Both some of the stuff that didn't go in from both sides. I mean, Mateta had one from Allison just over the bar. There was Darwin Núñez's one. There was Jota was the one,
like a machine running back together.
Robertson on the line. You know, Jota, everyone was calling for last week because he was the clutch and he couldn't score either. It was just it's just one of those days. But it was one of those with Liverpool. I've seen that game quite a lot where then you get the goal and if you got one, you'd have got two. That's how it works at Anfield. You suck the ball in the back of the net, everything goes up. And when Sky put up that stat of most goals in the last 10 minutes, Liverpool, most goals conceded in the last 10 minutes, Crystal Palace, and you go, here we go. This is the standard approach.
Thanks, tosses.
You're not taking your chances. It was the same. It's been the same for games. You had the same problem midweek, same problem against United. Salah's not quite at it. I've said early in the season, Darwin Núñez, you guys love him and I can get it because he's just hilarious to watch and he runs around crazy, but he's not yet. It may well be, but he's not that clutch finisher. He reminds me very, very much. Do you remember very, very early Drogba when he first came to Chelsea? Was a physical nightmare, a handfield fast, but
he was garbage when he for a little bit.
Shoot for toffee, and then when that came, he was a nightmare, and that's where they've got to try and look at. That's Núñez's early Drogba for me. There's something there, but it needs moulding still, and you can't. I'm not just picking on Núñez because none of your strikers put anything in, and I think a few players have felt maybe I think you got that Klopp's going buzz a bit early, and then. Yeah. And I can just you just look a little bit lethargic, and people like Szoboszlai I've not been that impressed with over the last month or so. You've had to rely on, brilliant goal from McAllister the other week, and it just can't keep happening. So I think it's a big hit because I think you guys are looking at Arsenal going, well, we fancy that they might have a thing, but as soon as Man City go above you, go and Man City is scoring goals as well, so. Yeah, not a big miss. And fair play. Crystal Palace played very well. Joachim Andersen, what a game that guy had. As a centre-back, if you're looking for a centre-back in a mid-table team that you'd be looking at, Joachim Andersen, I love that guy. He's brilliant.
And there's a lot of love I'm getting in the chat here as well. Chris thinks it's funny. So obviously isn't the farewell going well? That's funny. Fan Chris saying getting beaten at Atlanta in the Europa League. Atlanta are a good team. People need to remember they're a good team at Atlanta. There's a reason they're where they are performing. Like I said, Darwin reminds me of Andy Carroll when he first came. He got 7 shots to 1 goal.
Early Andy Cole. Andy Cole was a bit. First season he was. Yeah.
I mean, I'm the same. So every time we go behind. Like I've said it so many times, I don't pay any attention until the 65th minute. If I'm not watching a Liverpool game, I don't click on until like 65, 67 minutes, and then we start to do something. But it's that late start all the time is unnerving. I think 26 points from being behind is a great stat to have, but I don't understand it. I don't understand where that late start is, and it's. The one consistent thing I've noticed through all of Klopp's time is there hasn't been a solid defensive partnership in the back. We've never had that. There's been Van Dijk, and he made Gomez look good for a while. Then he made Matip look really good for a while. And then Konate's one where I do think he's got it, but he needs to play more than like 3 games consecutively. It'd be really, really nice. But then again, we've had issues at right back. We've had those injuries. We've had injuries at left back. So I sort of feel like that defensive unit hasn't been consistent. And then obviously Allison being out for, I don't know, half a season, it sort of feels like. So we have had those issues at the back that maybe could be that. And I also think a brand new midfield is something that normally takes time. I've never seen a team go, all of our midfield's gone. That doesn't exist anymore. Here we are. We brought a new one, apart from like Nottingham Forest maybe last season.
Yeah.
And all, but so if this wasn't Klopp's last season, I'd be really happy with how the season's going, because we're still technically in a title race. Our goal difference is third in the league. We've only one team has conceded less goals than us. And only I think one or two have scored more goals. So our goal difference is really impressive. We've won a cup. We're still in a quarter-final for a European Cup. We got to the quarter-final of another cup and we're in the title race. Another season, this would be really good. It's because it's Klopp's last. And, you know, you mentioned, Mikey, about, you know, the love that you have because of what somebody does, not just for your team, but for the fans and the community and everything around it. That's what hurts. And it's so bloody annoying when you're watching. You think there's chances, all of these millions of chances. And I don't understand where somebody was saying to me on Twitter, oh, it's Klopp's tactics. Well, it's obviously not, because we're conceding hardly any goals and we're scoring bloody loads of goals. So his tactics work, and we're creating all of these attacking opportunities. So it must work, but is that clinical finishing, and we haven't got a prolific clinical finisher. And I think because Salah scores loads of goals, but Jesus Christ, he takes like 8,000 shots to get there. I mean, and you look at Nunez, is the same. They're both very similar in the fact that they need lots of shots to finish something, and some of their shots are quite audacious. You think, what the bloody hell are you doing? Diaz is a workhorse, but again, he's not that clinical, and it's only really Jota who has a lot of clinical finishing, but he can't play more than 2 games without falling apart or something. So I don't know. The only thing I'm interested to see what happens when Klopp goes. I sort of think if a new manager comes out, I think that style of play will change, obviously, because it's a different guy. And what I think is going to happen is we'll become a touch less manic. I think we'll still keep that attacking sort of football, but I don't think it'll be the line will be as high. I don't think the balls will be as fast. I think there'll be a little bit more of a defensive position, like that Endo sort of position. And we need just someone who's more clinical, and which is why I've been looking at, like would Ollie Watkins do a job with Ivan Toney, that sort of person that'll see it and bang it in without sort of hesitation. And that's what we need. Credit to Crystal Palace, they played really well. And it's, I think I said before the new manager come in, they're garbage. They've been crap to watch for years, and I thought they were a waste of football. But at the moment they're playing some good football. But it's upsetting. If the season pitters out now, it'll be really sad. That'll be how Klopp goes out. Chris saying, how do you feel Klopp could finish in the same position as Erik ten Hag's first? I don't know. It depends. If he was saying Erik ten Hag is bad in his best season that he's had at United, you tell me how happy you were with United performing well or not. But I think Simon's saying same as United. There's a strike at sport, and you can go for the €100 million, which we don't. We never have.
I don't think we're allowed to spend that anymore either.
No, nobody can. And Spenny Fan Chris, who's a favourite to be the new Liverpool manager, I got to be honest. I would take the Sporting manager. I was apprehensive about Xavi, but I thought that is logically the only sort of manager that will come in and have a little bit of grace because of the connection with the club. But as that's gone now, and, is it Amorim? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Ruben Amorim at Sporting since when? Would you? Because it's an interesting one. Someone used this to me the other day, and I don't know how easy it would be to get him out and whether he'd do it. Would you take a punt? Would you try and go and get Unai Emery?
I don't know. As a football fan, I wouldn't want us to, because I want him to stay at Villa and see what he does there, because that's really interesting. I don't know, because he doesn't feel as big personality-wise. I think we need someone with our managers. Normally, the successful ones have something about them character-wise. I mean, that's just, I know that Amorim was giving Pepe a load of shit the other week, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And he seems to have that bit of something about him. Klopp had that something about him. Kenny Dalglish did. Rafa Benitez, although he didn't have that sort of sparky personality, he had his characteristic of being, very cold and, you knew who he was. I think, I don't know. He just feels a bit weird as a fit for the club. I don't know why.
Do you know what it is with Liverpool, right? What I'm thinking is it's all very, you use the word manic. I was going to say mad. It's all very high octane, high emotion. And that comes from the manager because he embeds that culture and it shows in the players. So it's 100 mile an hour. You never once watching Liverpool. And I watched you guys when you came to City Ground the other week. I won't talk about the ending to that game because this will go on for 2 hours. But it was all 100 mile an hour. Like there's no point where you slow it down and talk about the game or even the antics on the sideline or anything like that. It's all, as soon as the clock ticks and it's minute 1, it's 100 mile an hour full octane until minute 100. And I just think, you said exactly what I'm thinking, Josh, is when you take Klopp out of that team, you'll have a fundamental change in the way Liverpool operates, and that will be on and off the pitch. And you might not see craziness. You might see more 0-0s. Do you know what I mean? Because you get a manager that comes in and all that emotion and raw emotion and, Conor Bradley running up and down like he's a maniac, all that sort of stuff will kind of die down a little bit and you might get a more controlled way of playing and but that might not be what you want. That's the thing. You've got to get this choice right, because if you go like what Spurs have done, gone from ultra pragmatic to absolutely mad, I'm going to attack teams with 9 men. If you do like polar opposites, you might struggle. You want to get somebody, I think, that's close to Klopp, so you don't lose all that good stuff that you've got and that differentiates you from all the other teams that don't have that heart and soul. And there's plenty of them in this league. I want to say there is. And that's what differentiates Liverpool and teams like that, because they've got it in there and you can see it on the pitch. So your choice of next manager is going to be like
that's why I sort of feel that Amorim feels more of a fit than what Unai Emery would. It just feel, and it's a feeling thing more than anything else. I'm sure Unai Emery could do a job, but it just wouldn't feel the same. And we've always played off the fans and the atmosphere. And I think I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and I was saying, for me, that where that was really clear was in the season where we won the league, because we were absolutely flying miles ahead of anyone. And then when we came back and there was no crowd, we were quite poo. And if we wasn't so far ahead, we could have lost it at that stage, because there's so much adrenaline off that. And the way, that's why smartly the owners don't want to leave Anfield, because the way it's set up, the crowds, the stands, everything creates that atmosphere. And if you go there as a Liverpool fan in the crowd, it's just immense. It's absolutely something else. And
it's so hard to sustain for you, I think, even during Klopp's era with that energy and that, because if you look at season to season, you've always had that kind of drop off slightly. Like last season, you dropped off. The season, was it after you won it, you had that drop off, and you just can't. It's just all the time, as Mikey says. It's that natural kind of fatigue to it, and maybe that's what you're seeing some of this season, because you've got a lot of new players who aren't used to that for the entire season, and now it's the business end, and they are, they're kind of running. It took him early on to do it. Yeah, exactly. I need a holiday, and that's what happened in your first few seasons with Summer, until you got kind of like people like Mane and Firmino and when Wijnaldum's up to speed, and then you got the peak. That's probably where Klopp is. He needs another year, 18 months with this team. But
and that's what I thought. I was really surprised. I didn't think he was going to go this season. I thought he would see out his contract, which is next season, because the way he's built the team, that's the cycles that he normally goes at. So I completely understand when he talks about his energy and people are like, he's tired. There isn't another manager out there that has that level of investment, physical and emotional investment. And everybody's different. If you look, some people are quite clinical and quite cold, like Rafa was, for example, and some managers are animated for a period of time. Some are assholes in North London, not naming any names because that's not fair, is it? But everyone's, and I think that what he invests, I can totally see why that sort of why that drags him down. I mean, Simon said hopes they give the new manager time, and I would
hope
take
so. But what I would say in retort to that point is, because what remember United had David Moyes, and it was the appointment, I think, was the wrong one rather than given the time. Because that first season, remember, was such a drop off, such a drastic. He changed all the coaching staff. He made too many changes.
He was mental,
and it was a silly. I think rather that than I think they wanted to, and the fans wanted to, but it was just they got so much wrong early on. They had to pivot. And that's the thing. You can be patient, but if you're going down a mountain, then you've got to try and recourse it quickly, haven't you? So I think you'll get a decent appointment. I think Liverpool are well run. You've got some good people coming in the back room. I don't foresee you doing anything crazy.
Yeah. It'd be and I as long as I'd want to give whoever comes in season and a half minimum before I cast any sort of aspersions, unless it's absolute horse shit within the first couple of months. If you're doing apps, if we're like Christmas and we're 10th, I'm going to lose my shit entirely, and I'll be in the car driving up to Anfield with ready to do some damage. But we'll see. We shall see what happens. I mean, in regards to Liverpool bottling, personally, I think I don't want to say what I'm thinking because I feel like I might jinx it into being. But I'm hoping there's still games. There's still games to go.
You're within a game. You're within a game.
Yeah, it's not over. But I just think you're the third best team in the league, and I think you're running on pure emotion. So that can only last so long. You look knackered, like when I watched it, and I watched it in Europe, and also. You've got to remember, like earlier in the season, you had a lot of kids playing. So is it that squad depth? I don't know, but it bodes really well for the future. Got a lot of great young players. You were saying about Van Dijk's partner. Our guy at Forest, Murillo, he's had 6 different centre back partners next to him this season, and I bet Van Dijk's had probably the same. He's like Quansah, Gomez, Matic played. He probably had somebody else. And they're all some of them are young kids, aren't they? You've had Bradley next to him. You got.
So Quansah's his first couple of games he's played in the full team.
So it bodes really well. So whoever's taking over, it's taking over a club that is going places.
Which is different to the United situation. I think Ferguson definitely left at the right time as not to tarnish himself. Thinking another season, flipping heck, that wouldn't have been enjoyable. And for people who are following, Chelsea are now 6-0 up. Against Everton, Alfie Gilchrist. The quizzes are keeping us informed. Alfie Gilchrist scored. And as you mentioned, the quiz is also saying Lewis Kumas at Liverpool under-21s. And Jaden Dan's as well up front. There's a good time. And again, that's what I would have thought Klopp would do another season. But we shall see. And do you know what, Sam? Guess what I've forgotten to do? Guess.
The tablers, Una the tablers.
I've created them. I haven't added them up. So let me just ramp while I'm trying to find my all my slides. Oh look, they're coming. Everybody, isn't this exciting? The anticipation is just immense. The tension is palpable. It's processing.
Injury time.
It's coming. There it is. And there's the league. I mean, Man City. They're the juggernaut. I know there's a journalist who's published something that's really riled up all of the Man City fans about saying, it's an unfair league. I think in regards to size of club level of suspend over a period of time, I can understand it. But they are the juggernaut. They are the juggernaut. And once they're on top, this is why, if it was Arsenal on top, I'd have a lot more confidence where I'm sitting at the moment. But games that we didn't cover were West Ham 0, Fulham 2. Fulham still doing bits, playing some under the radar, lovely football. Sam, could you know who scored? Because I haven't even got that information.
Goals were scored.
It was Pereira gone both, didn't he?
Pereira double, wasn't it? Pereira double, yeah. Well played, Fulham, doing some bits this season.
Yeah. They are. They're silky under the radar. Brentford beating Sheffield United 2-0 because everybody beats Sheffield United. The game that it's not worth covering for the game, but for a fabulous moment, Burnley won, Brighton Hove Albion won, an own goal by the keeper. Well, I thought it was by the keeper. I saw it as own goal. I thought it was more the defender's own goal. But it was a back pass to the keeper that he just decided to let go under his feet. Is there a better way to describe it, Sam? I don't know quite how to describe what happened.
I think either that or he forgot to put the studs on his boots, I think was the case. Because it's a shocker. I feel bad because Burnley have had that all season. They've been calling for Muric over Trafford, and he had a couple of good games and he came in. And he's had a couple of howlers, and that was not. It just seems to be the Burnley just having those. You always get a team down the bottom where things like that happen every week, and they're like, "Oh, we could have had this without this," and it's just.
Well, last week it's his second one on the bounce, isn't it? Because he did the same similar at Everton, where he held onto the ball and then kicked it into. Was it Dominic Calvert-Lewin? He kicked it into.
Yeah, it's just it's unfortunate, isn't it?
You know, for Muric. Yeah, he played for Forest on loan a couple of seasons ago, and on his debut, he got lobbed from the touchline by a West Brom player, and then basically got dropped and sent back. So he's got form for having a few clangers, and I hope it continues because we've got them last game of the season. So hopefully he's in there and he does the same.
So yeah, a pretty boring game. De Zerbi linked with Liverpool. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling that one. But yeah, if just watch the highlights because they're very, very short because there were a lot of highlights, and that was a fun one to catch. And Man City beat Luton because Man City win football games, but I think they did it 5-1 just to make a point. And that is all the games that we've covered. So Man City are sitting top on 73 points with Arsenal and Liverpool on 71 each. Healthy goal difference though that Arsenal have over Liverpool at the moment of 8 goals. Although I do see a lot of these tables with goal differences and shots scored and all of that. And for some reason, Sky put Liverpool above other teams that have equal. I don't know why.
Yeah, just ignoring the whole alphabetical order thing, which has worked for centuries. But if it makes a graphic look good, then why not?
Yeah, it's like someone then Liverpool, then like then Bournemouth, Everton, then like some other team beginning with L. Further down. Super. Well done, Sky, for just being completely incompetent. But in the European spot, so we have Aston Villa are in fourth, 3 points ahead of Tottenham, who do have the game in hand though, and then Newcastle United on 50 points. I think top 4 is sort of done for Newcastle. Do you think? But it's still between Spurs and Villa.
Yeah. Newcastle are playing okay. It's their away form. They've still got some injuries. They need to go on a hell of a run, and I don't see Villa and Tottenham dropping that many points.
I agree. Yeah, I was going to say I agree. I think that's how it'll end, that top 4.
Yeah, and then so Manchester United in 7th spot. Do you think you're going to overtake Newcastle, possibly catch up Tottenham, or is that?
We'll be lucky to stay where we are. Jesus, I mean,
just want to consolidate 7th.
Chelsea are only 3 points behind us now and are playing really well. So,
with 2 games in hand, Chelsea.
Who the hell knows? I mean, so we miss a game because you got the FA Cup at the weekend, and then we've got Sheffield United at home the weekend after. And so if both of those games or one of those games doesn't go right, then who knows what'll happen by the end of the season? It'll be I probably won't care at that point. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I mean, and Simon's asking in the chat, how long until where's it gone? He's asking how long until Sheffield United are mathematically relegated. That can't be far off now, surely. I'd have to do some maths. Was there like 5 games left?
Not long.
15. Yeah, I would say. To be fair,
a couple of games. Probably.
1 or 2. Yeah, probably 2 games, I'd say, because. I mean, what they 14 points off, and if they lose their next one, to be fair, a game, I think 1 or 2 games, and that is Sheffield United confirmed. Then Burnley and Luton will probably be a bit longer, unless, of course, Mikey or if they want to join them.
I know what you're going to say. No, you're right. Hopefully Sheffield will be down by the time we play them, and same for Burnley. But I think it's between us and Luton for that last place. It's
tight times, but that we're going to go swift journey through Europe on our little narrow boat, on a little speedboat. Sam, tell us anything exciting in Liga?
It's always exciting. La Liga's back. It wasn't last week, but it is back. It is back, and we got a big week for Real Madrid this week. Ahead of their second leg, they got Manchester City, of course, second leg of the Champions League, and they got Barcelona in the. I've written El Casio here. It's the calculator derby next week.
The cheap watch derby.
Cheap watch derby against Barcelona next week. So, but they won 1-0 at Mallorca. That's not a bad away trip to get Mallorca 1-0. It was Chouameni with the strike. He got a deflected strike back. Ancelotti did a bit of cheeky rotation was going on, so he's getting ready for City's second leg. So Carvajal, Camavinga, Kroos, and Vinicius Junior were all on the bench, and Bellingham only lasted just over an hour. So he's got that one in mind. So they remain top. Barcelona also did the same thing. 8 changes they made because they got PSG in the second leg of the Champions League. But a moment of magic worth watching is João Felix's bicycle kick and their 1-0 victory over Cadiz. So they're second. It's not looking like they'll overhaul Madrid, but if they need any hope, they need to win next weekend. Cadiz are still in the relegation zone. They're fighting for their lives as their rivals Celta Vigo lost away at Real Betis. Atletico Madrid came from behind to defeat Girona. They're still there. They're still in third. 4-point gap from Atletico in fourth. Antoine Griezmann was on target as well for Atletico Madrid. So they still sit in fourth, and Athletic Club sit fifth after a draw with the Yellow Submarine Villarreal. Elsewhere, Granada were surprise winners over Alaves. It's just their third win of the season, thanks to a penalty from Azuni and a second from Boy. But oh boy, they're still 11 points away from relegation. It's looking like it's sayonara Granada in La Liga this season. Almeria got a draw. They got a draw against 6th place Real Sociedad. So well done to them. Which is no meagre feat. They shared a Desmond 2-2 with their opponents with a later Mbaba penalty. Just the one win for Almeria, but they've drawn 11 games this season. So, not always the losses, but that one win, it's not enough. It's fair to say, not enough to keep them up. Big week in the Champions League for Spanish sides with Real Madrid, Atletico and Barcelona all in action.
La Liga. And Cap added to come in for the Valencia win, which was today, I believe, which is why it's not included on here, because I do this yesterday. I haven't got enough time to just automatically update all the time. But Valencia beat Osasuna 1-0. 1-0. And of course, Cap added is on cloud 9 at the moment because it's mighty Wrexham. Come on, another Welsh team progressing through the leagues. Well, another Welsh team. To be fair, it's only Wrexham and Newport that I'm really concerned about these days because I don't like Cardiff and Swansea, neither here nor there. But yeah, so if you want to join Alan's celebration, I'm sure on Thursday on the Absolutely Lower League, they'll be reveling in that one. There shall be lots of revelment.
Just on Thursday, there's another special guest. So keep your eyes peeled for another special guest on Thursday. Yeah, eyes peeled.
It's a biggie. Great big biggie. Because that's just how we roll. That's just how we roll. And Alan said it was a missed penalty by Osasuna. And but it's nice to see Valencia win. It'd be nice that I don't like the fact they always get themselves in trouble every season and have to do bits. So stop it. Just behave yourselves. Over in Syria, nobody has followed this week. I'll be honest with you. I've caught up with no football this weekend because I was so pissed off after the Palace game because Palace always spoil our good runs. They always spoil everything for me. So I'm not going to lie. I did sulk and stopped following any sort of football. So I don't know what's happened other than Inter Milan. They must be winning pretty soon. Surely to God, with that was 14-point difference, probably one or two more victories should do it for Inter. But they drew with Cagliari, 2-2 Cagliari. And Mike, feel free if you want to say any name in a funny accent, you give it a go. Look, all these people trying to guess in there. They think it's a Dorking manager. Charles saying no. Alan thinks it's a pundit from TNT Sports. Not going to give anything away at all. You have to watch it, but it's going to be bloody brilliant. I'm devastated I can't be there, but I never get invited on Thursdays. Just to throw that out there. Sam does. Sam gets invited all the time, but nobody wants me on Thursday, so you look and shove it. Shah's favourite team beat Empoli. Who beat Empoli? Lecce. Lecce beat Empoli. They're turning it on. The Lecce are turning it on. They won 1-0. Juventus drew 0. Juventus are sort of petering out, really. They can't be arsed with the end of this season. AC Milan drew 3-3 with Sassuolo. And again, I think because everyone wants Inter to win. Boiler FC won. They did indeed. And Charlotte's other favourite team, Bologna, short for Bolognese, Spaghetti Bolognese, drew 0-0 with Monza. And that is Serie A. What's the team? I can never say the team at the bottom.
Salernitana.
Yeah,
Salernitana.
Salernitana. It looks like they're getting.
You won't have to worry about it next season by the looks of it, though. So,
they're doing better than Almira. They've won 2 games.
2 games. They should have a playoff.
Salernitana and Sassuolo and Frozone. They did as well. Who is also the bad guy from The Incredibles? No, he's not. He's a good guy. He's a good guy's mate, isn't he? He is indeed. So check it out, kids.
Interesting to see Napoli. What were you saying?
They've dropped off massively.
They've dropped because I went on holiday to Italy around Naples area, and they just won the league. And obviously, it was everyone was celebrating. The flags were up.
Yeah.
They've returned to form to 8th. I wonder if Leverkusen, in Germany, now they've won the league. I wonder whether they're going to drop down. They peak and then almost find their natural spot. I don't know. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how Xavi does. I mean, in the chat, I said someone's a bit salty, mentioning no names, and then she mentioned a name. You just gave it away. No one could guess. No one could guess. I'm not salty. I'm just, I know when I'm not wanted. I know when I'm not wanted, and that's fine. And you have a award-winning show. I'll just fuck off over here. Let's just leave you all alone. Simon said in the chat, after one of my comments at WL Soul Show one week, I surprised the rest of the team let you on this one. This is true. I think he's referring to scent spreading. When I spoke about scent spreading, and that's it. If you want to know what it was, you have to go back and watch all the WSL shows. They're worth it just for the content, if nothing else. But we do head over to the Bundesliga, where Leverkusen did it in style as they beat Leverkusen 5-0. Beautiful goals throughout. They really did it in style. They absolutely rolled it out and just did it fabulously well. And in fairness, still unbeaten. I think I got a feeling they are Europe's only unbeaten team in the top flight now.
Not just in the league either, are they? They're in the final of the cup and they're in the quarterfinals. They could do the never losing treble.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely, I was going to say definitely, it sounds a bit disrespectful. They're probably going to do a double because in the cup final, they are up against, I think, a team that is in the third league.
Yeah, Kaiserslautern, yeah.
Kaiserslautern. So they're probably going to do the double. But, I mean, what a first full season in management for Xavi Alonso. And it is my man crush. My man crush won it. He did it.
Amazing. It's amazing how... a young coach can get that sort of investment from a team. So, when coaches raise teams to different levels, you saw it with Villa, Unai Emery, basically the same players, give or take a couple of wingers that they bought in, that Steven Gerrard had, and he couldn't get a tune out of them, and a coach comes in, gets a tune out of them. They all have obviously bought into everything that Alonso's doing, and that emotion is just taking them to levels that we probably never thought they could be. And they could, imagine if they won everything. That would be absolutely crazy. They could do, because they're just on a roll, aren't they?
And having never won the Bundesliga before as well, having never ever won the Bundesliga and then going and doing like a treble at the same time, it would be insane. One of the best achievements in European football, that would be.
Yeah.
And then when you look at where they were last season, I think when Xavi took them over, they were sort of in the lower half of the table. I think they were kicking like 13th, 14th, sort of floating around that area. And he brought them up into a European position. And then this season is just pushed on, and it's really impressive. And I think we'll find out if he's made the right decision for his career next season. I mean, if Leverkusen sort of diminish, you'll be thinking, balls, I could have been in Munich, which no one wants to go to Munich.
His stock will be really high. He could be Liverpool. His stock will be really high though. So even if they do Napoli and go down to mid-table, his CV says they've won XXX and he's been in the job 5 minutes. So he could then get to Liverpool in a couple of, you don't know, do you? But his CV's going to look ace.
I mean, Chris is saying they were second from bottom. So, I knew they were low down. So, we're what he's done. And Alonso, he could get the treble. It'd be great. He'll do a double. There will be a double in there unless something spectacular happens in that German Cup final. But I'll be honest with you, all I cared about was Leverkusen this week. Bayern Munich won a game. Harry Kane didn't score. Very, very strange times from Bayern Munich. No real news yet on their next managerial appointment. Again, a team that decides we're going to get rid of our manager. He's going to go at the end of the season, but he's just going to hang around for now. He's just going to chill out, slag off the team and the staff in press conferences and stuff. But you know, at least we don't have to pay him off too soon. I think it's the only logic. I mean, Borussia Dortmund, I think they had a red card in their game, and they won against Mönchengladbach. But how they did their form has just been up and down in games is just unbelievable. And Stuttgart, did Gavassi score in Stuttgart? I don't know. Shall I have a look and find out? Let's educate ourselves a little bit. He did. Gavassi scored, and Dennis Undavo, I think, is from Brighton, also scored. He's been banging the goals in as well. And someone saying the Harry Kane curse is struck Bayern is true. It's spreading. They're like the spreading throughout. I was going to say like a black plague. That's not very nice, so we're not going to wish that on anybody. But he spread his Spursiness everywhere. But the Bundesliga table, that is the winners, the champions. Well done to Bayern Leverkusen. 79 points. Who are mass. I can't even do the quick maths to work out how far ahead they are from Bayern Munich. I think 15 points ahead of Bayern Munich, who are on the same points as Stuttgart, who are 8 points ahead of Leipzig, who are on the same points as Dortmund, who are 14 points ahead of Eintracht Frankfurt, who are 3 points ahead of Augsburg, on the same points as Freiburg, who are 3 points ahead of Hoffenheim, who are 2 points ahead of Heidenheim, who are 3 points ahead of Mönchengladbach, on the same points as Werder Bremen, who are 2 points ahead of Union Berlin, who are 1 point ahead of Wolfsburg, who are 1 point ahead of Bochum, who are 1 point ahead of Mainz, who are 4 points ahead of Cologne, who are a hell of a lot of points ahead of Darmstadt at the bottom of the league. And that is the beautiful Bundesliga. On to the SPFL. Sam, you said Charlotte did a beautiful write-up for you.
She has. She sent me a wonderful write-up, so I shall read it in its entirety. So, Aberdeenshire 0, Dundee 0. Despite both teams having chances, neither could break the deadlock on Saturday, unfortunately, and the points were shared. Aberdeen midfielder Graham Shinney was sent off for his second yellow of the game, but it didn't change the scoreline. So 0-0 Aberdeen Dundee. Celtic 3, St Mirren 0. A very good win for Celtic, who are now 4 points clear at top. Goals from Oreo Hatate, Kyogo Furuhashi and Adam Eder confirmed how good Celtic were on Saturday. A much-deserved 3 points for them. Hearts 4, Livingston 2. What a first half. All 6 goals were scored in the first half. Wasn't the best of starts for Hearts. They went 2 goals down pretty early on in the first half thanks to a Stephen Kelly brace. But do not fear, 7 minutes after his second goal, Big Shanks assisted George Grant, podcast favourite Big Shanks, and Hearts got a goal back. 3 minutes later, Yutaru Oda got the equaliser, assisted by Big Shanks again. In the 40th minute, Hearts got the winning goal when Cameron Devlin scored. And then the man, the myth, the legend, everybody give thanks for Big Shanks. Lawrence Shanklin got the 4th and final goal of the game just before the halftime whistle when he converted from the penalty spot. Hearts win. And of course they do because Big Shanks is fantastic. Big Shanks. Livingston forward, the phenomenally named Teti Yengi, was sent off in the 58th minute and they managed not to concede any more goals. Motherwell won, Hibs won, a point for each team and quite a dull but fairly even match. Mizian Mayalida converted from the penalty spot in the 65th minute, and Hibs fans were convinced they were taking all 3 points home, but an injury time equaliser from defender Shane Blaney gave the home team something to cheer about. A fair result in Shah's opinion. There you go. St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 2, goals from Joe Wright and Marley Watkins were enough to give Kilmarnock the win away from home. And then wow. A very bad day at the office for Rangers. 3-2 defeat to Ross County. Started very well for them when Ross County defender Jack Baldwin unfortunately scored an own goal. But Ross County didn't let that dishearten them. They never gave up attitude, helped them through the game, and they were awarded 2 minutes in the second half when Simon Murray got the equaliser. Their battle and determination showed throughout the game. And 3 minutes later, defender George Harmon put the home side 2-1 up. It went from bad to worse for Rangers when Joshua Sims scored a third goal. And then guess what happened? Rangers were awarded a penalty, and guess who scored it? James Tavernier. Laughy face. It always happens. But it just wasn't enough. A very bad day at the office for Rangers. Their hope of winning the title is starting to fade away now. They're 4 points off of Celtic. And that's bad because, I mean, that last-minute goal against Celtic in the derby the previous week, and they just handed it back. Look in trouble.
Silly. So silly.
And they've said, as they've said in the chat, they've been trying to get the Dundee Rangers game on for about 6 months, I think, and I think they've decided to play it somewhere else because they need to get this game done.
Just don't play it. Just don't play it. Who needs a point?
Roll the dice.
Yeah, but think twice before you roll that dice. Celine Dion, and I've just realised the time, and so let's plough through the Eredivisie, which is the team with the league with the funnest team names. So let's just pick some. Heracles against Heavenveen, win 2-0. Your Juveneri tracked, FC Utrecht, go ahead Eagles. 2-1. Fortuna Shithard. No, it's not. It's Stithard. Don't be so silly. They lost 1-0 to Feyenoord, who are almost putting pressure on PSV, but not quite enough. Ajax, who's just having the weirdest season, going from relegation positions, losing some crazy games, managers turning them down because apparently Graham Potter is too big for Ajax. They beat 20-1. NC Nijmegen. What they called, Sam?
Nijmegen.
2-2-2. Zawali. PSV Eindhoven beat Betis Arnhem 6-0. 95 goals in 30 games for PSV. Wowzers in your trousers. With a goal difference of plus 78. Oh, my Opal Fruit days. And Achzed Achma against Warwick. 1-3-2. Unfortunately, it was very sad to see Warwick lose in there. And Abia City lost 3-2 to Sparta Rotterdam or anywhere. But Excelsior won 4-0 against FC Volendam. Vitesse is still at the bottom of the league. Volendam are above them. Warwick are doing their best. Bless their hearts, but it doesn't look like they're going to do it. But PSV still at the top, only lost one game. Looks like this could be PSV's season. And like I said, 95 goals in 30 games. Wowzers. Over to League where we get rid of PSG here because they suck and they make the league rubbish. But as I look at that in the chat, I missed all of this chat. Charlotte loves a bit of Warwick. And go ahead, Eagles. What a name. It's all the best names in Eredivisie. But Brest is best at the moment in League they are 1 point ahead of Monaco. And who else has played, Sam? I always get Lyon and Marseille. Not Lyon, is it Marseille? Which is the one that I get mixed up?
Oh, what are you thinking of? Well, you got Lille in fourth, aren't they? They did. I don't think they played. Did they? They played Villa, didn't they, the other night? So did they get them? Did they give them the week off in France? It's very nice of them if they have, isn't it?
Yeah, well, but the league doesn't mean anything to the French FA, does it? The PSG just clapping all over it. So what's the point? What is the point, eh? But it's nice in fifth position. And Lens in sixth, Lyon in seventh. Rennes is coming up. Rennes at eighth. Then Marseille. Then Claire's favourite Rennes. The old Rennes in 10th, Toulouse in 11th, Strasbourg in 12th, Montpellier 13th, Nantes 14th, Le Havre in 15th, Lorient, Metz, and then at the foot of the table, this is Sam's line from the other week. At the foot is Clermont Foot. I feel bad seeing Sam's lines, but when they're that good, it can't be bad, can it? And I think that's I'm spent. I don't know about you guys. I'm exhausted. I'm sweating like an absolute lunatic with all of these lights everywhere. But Mikey, thank you for joining us, Mikey. Where can people find you if they want more tip-top Mikey content?
Oh, if you want to wallow in the depression that is Nottingham Forest in our relegation battle, I'm on a podcast called Forest Focus, and we're on pretty much most days, actually. It's got ex-players on, like, Gary Birtles, Lewis McGugan, Calvin Wilson. There's a lot of players that come on, and some Forest staff, and there's journalists and all sorts, and some fans like myself. So it's quite cathartic. It certainly is at the moment. Everybody's welcome. We're on YouTube or your podcast downloads and stuff. So if you fancy watching that, that'd be good. That was very educational, Josh, the European rundown.
No, I
wasn't aware of some of that. So,
don't get it anywhere else, I tell you. It's just,
no, very unique.
Well, always worth a watch, and somebody who's always worth a watch is always Sam. And Sam, where can people find you?
Me, you can find me. I'm still at my @up the FM Ducks handle, mainly on Twitter and TikTok, doing some TikTok stuff. I'm pretty much on the podcast. I'm prepping some season reviews for the end of the month, so there's going to be some fun ones coming out. I think I've got Charlotte ready to talk all about Rochdale in a couple of weeks. So,
she'll hate it.
Eyes up for exactly. She knows a couple of bits about Rochdale, a couple of bits more than me. So it should be. Thank God she's on.
I say that every time Charlotte tells us, thank God she's on. Just because what a wonder we've got such a great team here. And Sam, have you got the up to date socials? Because I don't. And of course, Jimmy McNulty, the man who recognized Charlotte, he saw Charlotte, went, hey, you're that girl off that podcast, the one that knows everything. He did. He said she was absolutely tip top. Of course, that the big thing is, and Spenny fans asking, Forest Focus on YouTube.
It is, mate. Yeah, absolutely. It's everywhere. Just search for it. We're absolutely everywhere at the moment because there's so much to talk about and everybody's stressed. So it is a fun watch if you like that sort of thing.
So please do follow Mikey, and thank you again for joining us. But of course, everybody that's here, please do follow us on Twitter. We are at Absolute Ball Pod because of character count, and on YouTube and Twitch at Absolute Football Podcast. And on the tick boom is at Absolute Football Pod. I think we've reached some sort of milestone numbers. Why is it 5? I want to say 500, but that might be too high.
500 on the ticky-tocky, yeah, we did.
There's all the hard work. Very much thanks to Sam, who's just a hero. He's a hero that walks among us, and I can tell this because when I see him, he has his pants on inside out, outside of his trousers, and you can see how excited he's got. At Instagram at Absolute Football Podcast _. And
I didn't go to work like that as well this morning. Guys, I didn't realise.
Do you know what? I'm auditioning for Thursday. But if you do want to catch us, we are obviously here every Monday chatting European football and the Premier League. Mondays 8:30 on YouTube and Twitch, and then we're on all the audio platforms. You can catch us all there. Wednesdays is our fabulous WSL Women's Championship show. Absolutely brilliant at the moment. Please do check it out. If you have any interest, even if you want to find out about the WSL, the team is so well informed and they're so in the know and they speak so well. It's an excellent show, really good to watch, and thank you to everybody that has been watching that and interacting in the chat. And on Thursdays it is the Wowdy Wabble, in the words of Roy Hodgson, the Wowdy Wabble over doing absolutely lower league, headed by the wonderful famous Charlotte, who is everywhere at the moment. Please do check them out as well because they are tip top tastic. And I think that's just everything. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around with us for so long. I hope you've had a wonderful evening. Thank you, Mikey, for joining us as a super duper special guest. Sam, I love you. One day, if we could be bonded, that would be beautiful. And to everybody else watching, thank you very much. Hope you have a very pleasant evening. Take care of yourselves. TTFN and ta-ta